So let me begin by just, there's no need to say a lot about the nature of the war when it happened on February 24th. Russia invaded Ukraine, and since then there have been a lot of death and destruction and a lot of controversy and headline news every day. So we have just ambassadors sharing experiences and views. To start with Ambassador Daly from the European Union. Ambassador Daly was formerly ambassador of the EU to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Australia, New Zealand. Very illustrious, long time career, starting out with the Irish Ministry of Foreign Affairs initially, and then he joined the EU External Services, the external ministry of the EU. So Ambassador Daly, EU 27 now. The European Union has been the crowning achievement of the post-war order, really, over 7 decades, almost 8 decades, going back to the 1940s. It started out with 6 countries, now 27, enlarged. So this war on the very outskirts, bordering the EU now, will it have, what kind of impact is this generating for the European Union? And it is the case that it has been argued that, Ukraine wanted to join the European Union, and the European Union, in reaction to the war, has imposed wide-ranging and deep sanctions on Russian interests and individuals. So from your perspective, Ambassador Daly, what are we seeing here over the past 2 weeks, and what might we expect from the European Union's vantage point in the coming days and weeks? Ambassador Daly.
Thank you very much. First, could I say how honored I am to be here in this wonderful historic university, and to be here today on this panel. So thank you very much for inviting me. Well, I mean, as you know, like many others, the European Union condemns Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We see Russia, a nuclear country, invading a next-door neighbor, threatening reprisals against others. We see this as a defining moment for Europe and for the world. We face an historic choice between the international community being ruled by law on the one side, or being governed by force on the other, military might. There are three words I would use to describe the consequences for the European Union since the invasion. They are shock, unity, and complacency, or rather, the end of complacency. The immediate impact, of course, has been shock. Shock for all of us globally, but for Europeans, especially in the European Union. We thought that we'd seen the last of this type of war in Europe, this type of aggressive, invasive war. Now, we mustn't forget Russia's actions in the Donbass region in 2014, nor should we forget Crimea, nor should we forget Georgia in 2008. And we should also not forget the Balkan Wars of the 90s, which were much more a violent implosion of a country, riven with tensions. But still, it was not the invasion of one country by another. The European Union was born out of war in order to break out of a cycle of wars which had dogged our countries every 50 years going back to the 18th century. Wars between France and Germany and other countries in Europe every 50 years. The European Union was an attempt to try and live together in a different way in order to break out of that cycle of war. And as such, I think we can be very proud of the fact that the European Union has been successful as a peace process. No more war between the member states of the European Union, between those countries. Of course, against that background, what's happening on our border is extremely shocking. So that's the first impact that it has had. Second impact, I would say, is unity of purpose. The war has had a galvanizing effect. I mean, the European Union has moved quickly from shock to action. We've taken extraordinary decisions in the last week. Decisions on sanctions, decisions on SWIFT, decisions on banning airlines, decisions on using European Union funding in the area of arms, historic decisions. And these decisions require unanimity within the European Union. So these are the decisions of 27 sovereign states acting together as the European Union. Success can breed complacency. And in this sense, I think one of the impacts is as a wake-up call within the European Union. And of course, a wake-up call more globally as well. I mean, what is happening today in Europe, it is something that could happen anywhere if the European Charter is trampled on. And so to that extent, it may be happening in Europe, but it is an attack on all of us. And of course, there we see the importance of us coming together as the global community, 141 countries, including 8 ASEAN countries, including Thailand. The importance of us coming together in deploring Russia's aggression against Ukraine and supporting the UNGA resolution. But it is a call to arms to fight against complacency within the European Union. We are losing in Europe the World War II generation of leaders. And so the narrative of those leaders who had wanted to consciously build a different type of Europe, those leaders are now passing on. And success can breed complacency. A lot is taken for granted by the new generation in Europe. Take for granted that you can travel anywhere in Europe, you can work anywhere, study anywhere. When you go to another member state, you have the same rights there as a citizen of a member state of the European Union, as the citizens of that country. So there's a lot that is wonderful about the European Union, but a lot of that has been taken for granted. Now, there is a phrase, eaten bread is soon forgotten, which describes this type of complacency. One of the impacts, in my view, of this war is that it reminds us that every generation has to take its turn at the wheel. Every generation within the European Union must put the effort in to safeguarding the European Union, safeguarding our values, safeguarding what we have achieved. And in this sense, not even the prospect, but the actuality of war right on our border directly affecting us. This gives a renewed narrative for continuing with our project, continuing to safeguard our values within the European Union. In a way, it's a new European Union that's being born now. It's a world which is not necessarily a benign world. Perhaps we had thought it was more benign than it is, or that it has proven to be. We see a new impetus to issues that have been on our agenda for a number of years, recognized as important, but now are certainly getting a fast forward. For example, in the area of defense, European defense discussions within the European Union, or even in areas such as energy strategy, renewable energy. I mean, the war highlights the important dependency of European Union member states on energy sources from Russia. So this gives a boost now to energy efficiency in the European Union, a boost to diversifying our energy supplies. So many things that have been on our agenda, and we've been working on them and making progress, but now they get a fast forward because of this this tragic episode. And of course, we'll have to pay for all of this. And we are already paying for it. We're paying for it in the measures we're taking to support Ukraine, but we're also paying for it through higher energy bills. We will pay for it globally through the wheat prices, which will go through the roof, increasing feedstuff, animal feed, etc., etc. The reconstruction of Ukraine afterwards. We'll have to pay for all of this. And so the younger generation of Europeans may face a more constrained life than the ones that our generation have faced, where we've had nothing but the benefit of the European Union and the growth and prosperity associated with it. So I think these are just some of the consequences. And just to sum up, in lots of ways, I think that this war has shown that we have to think the unthinkable, because that's what we're confronted with now.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Daly. I'll just ask a quick 1 minute follow-up based on your remarks. I mean, you basically are making the point that this has galvanized and stiffened. It has stiffened and galvanized the EU's resolve and purpose and commitment, and even leading to a kind of renewal. The one area that is an issue now is this the continuation of sanctions against Russian interests and individuals, and there's a kind of a brinkmanship taking place. On the one hand, you know, on the Russian side, they are suffering from sanctions, but also, you know, they may think that the Europeans also suffering from sanctions that they've been imposing as well. Do you think the sanctions will be sustained, and you know how the price will be very high moving forward? What do you think?
Well, I think firstly, our sanctions regime is designed as far as possible to target those responsible for the war on the Russian side, and also now on the Belarusian side. They're designed to increase the cost of all of this, the cost of waging war for Russia. Inevitably, this will cause disruption, and almost inevitably, there will be aspects of this which may also hit on our side as well because of the disruption. But we feel that the sanctions, in being deep and wide, these are crucial measures to try and stop this war and to encourage a complete pullback by Russia from this war. And whatever the cost of these sanctions, they're certainly a lot lower in cost terms to what might be the case if everything went even a lot worse.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Daly. We'll come back to you in the next round. Let me move to Ambassador Waldemar Dubniowski.